I swear, if that smug bastard had said one more word, I would have cracked his jaw in a way he'd never smile again. We were at a dinner I didn't even want. Supposed to be serious talk with my wife, Ashley. She insisted on candles, wine, the whole show. Thought maybe she was finally ready to work on our marriage. Silly me. Instead, when I arrived, there he was. Chase Donovan, her so-called colleague, sitting next to her in a tight black shirt, smirking like he owned the restaurant. Ashley was laughing too loudly at his jokes, hand dangerously close to his thigh. "Logan," she said sweetly, motioning me to the seat across from them. "This is Chase. You've heard me mention him." Yeah, I'd heard. Too often. The mentor. The inspiration. The guy who just gets her. I sat down, forcing a smile while my fists curled under the table. Chase leaned in, locked eyes with me like we were in some old Western standoff, and said calmly, "I'll make this simple. You've got two options. Leave quietly, or face me like a man." Ashley didn't even flinch. She smiled. For a second, the room went silent except for the pounding in my ears. Leave quietly, or face him like a man. He actually thought I'd crawl away from my own wife like a kicked dog. I leaned forward, met his eyes, and said with a calmness that wasn't calm at all, "You want your teeth whole, or in pieces?" His smirk twitched. Ashley gasped, "Logan, stop. You're embarrassing me." Embarrassing her. Not him. Not herself. Me. The guy she had paraded in here to humiliate in front of her new toy. That's when I realized something. This wasn't the start of the affair. This was the curtain call. And I'd walked in like the clueless extra who didn't get the memo. I didn't blow up the table, though God knows I wanted to. I just stood, tossed my napkin down, and walked out into the night air. Not rage. Not despair. Just a dangerous kind of clarity. Because I knew one thing. This wasn't over. When I got home, the house felt wrong. Not the furniture, not the decor. Just the air. Her perfume lingered in the hallway, but not just hers. Something else. Muskier. Arrogant. I walked into the bedroom. Bed perfectly made, corners tucked in like a hotel. Ashley never made the bed like that. Not once in 15 years. I sat down on the edge, palms still red from clenching fists under the table. My phone buzzed. A message from her. "You didn't have to do that." Do what? Exist? Show up and refuse to be the clown in her little dinner theater betrayal? I typed back, "You humiliated me in public, Ashley." Why? Her reply came fast. "Don't be dramatic. You overreacted." Overreacted. Like I had stubbed my toe, not watched my marriage dissolve under candlelight. The next morning, I played the calm husband. Coffee brewed. Eggs in the pan. She breezed into the kitchen, hair flawless, smile painted on. "Morning," she said like nothing happened. "Morning," I echoed. She sat, scrolling through her phone, giggling softly. Not at me. Not with me. At whoever was on the other end of that glowing screen. "You seemed upset last night," she said finally, not looking up. I sipped my coffee. "Did I?" She shrugged. I wish you wouldn't make things awkward. Chase was only trying to help me. He thinks you hold me back." I set the mug down carefully. "And you?" She smiled, still not meeting my eyes. Maybe he has a point. That was it. No remorse. No apology. Just a casual declaration that her new boyfriend, my replacement, was better at my job than me. I didn't argue. Didn't slam the table. Just nodded, almost cheerfully, and said, "Good to know." Because the funny thing about me? When I go quiet, that's when you should worry. A week later, Ashley thought she had me figured out. She came home late. New perfume, fresh manicure, a smile that didn't belong to me. "You didn't wait up?" she asked, slipping off her heels. I looked up from the book I wasn't actually reading. Didn't know I was supposed to. She blinked, waiting for a fight that didn't come. Instead, I smiled and went back to the page. See, Ashley thrived on noise. On drama. Theatrical tears, slammed doors, accusations she could twist back into my fault. But silence. Silence made her itch. The next day, she tested me. "Chase says I laugh more when I'm not with you." She dropped casually while slicing an apple. I raised an eyebrow. "Well, then you should definitely spend more time with Chase." She froze for half a second, then smirked. "Don't tempt me." I didn't rise to it. Just shrugged and went back to polishing the counter. Inside, though, I was already a step ahead. While she thought I was fading into the wallpaper, I was laying out the blueprint. I started small, checking her phone when she left it unlocked, quietly downloading her hidden photo album to a cloud account she didn't know existed. I took screenshots of her texts with Chase, forwarded them to an email under a fake name. Then I called a buddy from college, Ryan. He worked in real estate now, owed me a favor. Looking for something temporary, I said over the phone. Small place, month to month. Doesn't need to be fancy. Just off the radar. Ryan didn't ask questions. He knew the tone of a man who wasn't asking for fun. By the end of that week, I had a key to a furnished apartment across town. Ashley had no idea. That Friday, she stood in front of the mirror, adjusting an outfit that looked more like a date night ensemble than a casual work event. "How do I look?" she asked, fishing for praise. I smiled faintly, like a woman who knows what she wants. She grinned at her reflection. What she didn't know was that I had planted a tiny camera in her car 2 days ago, the kind with a motion sensor, easy to hide under the dash. By midnight, I'd have my first set of recordings. Ashley thought she was the star of this show, but I was the one writing the script. The footage came in around 12:43 a.m. I was sitting in that tiny apartment Ryan found for me, the one with the questionable carpet and a view of a brick wall, nursing a cup of black coffee I didn't need. My laptop screen flickered as the camera in her car uploaded clips to the cloud. And there she was, Ashley, in the driver's seat, lipstick freshened, hair tousled just enough to look like she hadn't planned it. Chase sat in the passenger seat, laughing at something. She leaned in, and I didn't even need the audio to know what was happening. You could have fit my entire marriage in that 3-second clip and called it a documentary. I didn't slam the laptop shut, didn't throw it across the room. I just watched. And the strangest thing happened. I felt calm, like the universe had finally stopped gaslighting me. The next morning, Ashley breezed into the kitchen like a pageant queen, pouring herself coffee with that practiced little hum she used when she wanted me to think everything was normal. "Morning," she said brightly. I smiled. "Late night." She glanced at me over the rim of her mug. "Work ran long. Big project." "Of course," I said, nodding. "You work so hard." For the first time, I noticed the faintest flicker of hesitation in her eyes. Maybe she sensed something. Maybe she didn't. But the seed was planted, and I knew how to water it. That evening, I set the stage. Candlelight dinner at home, her favorite wine, the one she always claimed pairs with everything. When she walked in and saw the table set, she looked startled. "What's all this?" "Just thought we deserved a night together," I said smoothly. "You've been under so much stress." She blinked, then smiled, slipping into her chair. I poured her a glass, clinking mine against it. "To us," I said. "To us," she echoed. We ate. We laughed. I even let her tell the story of some ridiculous client meltdown she invented on the spot. I didn't call her out. I just leaned back, watching her with what I hoped passed for admiration. Halfway through dessert, I leaned forward. "You know, I've been thinking." Her fork froze midair. "About what?" "About how much I trust you." She almost dropped the fork. I kept my smile steady. "I mean, look at us. After all these years, we've built something unshakable. I don't worry about you. I don't question where you are." A bead of sweat formed just under her hairline. I almost laughed. "That's nice," she said, her voice just a touch too high. "Yeah," I said softly, swirling the wine. "Not every couple can say that." We sat in silence for a beat too long. She excused herself to freshen up. I watched her leave the room, her phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. The second she was out of sight, I slid my own phone from my pocket, opened the app tied to the camera feed. And sure enough, her text messages were already lighting up the screen. "He's acting weird tonight. Like he knows something." Chase's reply came back instantly. "Relax. He's too soft to do anything. Just play it cool." I smiled. Too soft. Interesting choice of words. 2 days later, I laid the second trap. I told her I had to leave town for a conference. Couple nights, nothing major. "I'll be back Friday." Ashley barely blinked. "Okay, have fun." No protest. "No, I'll miss you." Just a quick little grin that told me exactly how she planned to spend her newfound freedom. That night, I checked the feed. She wasn't even subtle. Picked Chase up at 7:12 p.m., right on schedule. Drove straight to a downtown hotel. I watched them through the tiny dashcam lens as they laughed their way across the parking lot like two teenagers skipping curfew. Inside my apartment, I leaned back in the chair, arms folded. She thought she was starring in her own secret romance. What she didn't know was that she was giving me exactly the evidence I needed. Friday morning, I walked back into our house as if nothing had happened. Ashley was in the kitchen, hair still damp from a shower, humming while flipping pancakes. Back early? She asked, turning with a smile that could have won an Oscar. Yeah, I said easily. Missed you. She grinned, stepped closer, kissed me lightly on the cheek. And I swear, I almost laughed at the audacity. That afternoon, I printed the screenshots. Dozens of them. Texts. Photos. Even a frame from the dashcam video where her hand was very clearly on Chase's leg. I slipped them into a neat little manila folder and set it in my desk drawer. Not to confront her with yet. Oh no, that would have been too easy. Too expected. Instead, I waited. Because people like Ashley, they don't just fall. They trip over their own arrogance. And when she did, I wanted to be there with the camera rolling. The opportunity came sooner than I thought. The following week, Ashley announced, Chase is hosting a dinner for the office. Spouses are invited. I raised an eyebrow. Chase, huh? Yeah, she said casually, eyes darting away. It's just networking. Very professional. I smiled. Of course. Can't wait to meet him again. The way her jaw twitched told me she'd hoped I'd decline. But decline? Not a chance. That Friday, I put on my best suit. When we walked into that swanky restaurant, Ashley's smile looked pasted on. Chase was already there, holding court at the head of the table, his grin as smug as ever. Logan, he said, standing to shake my hand like we were long-lost friends. Glad you could make it. Wouldn't miss it, I said, gripping his hand a second too long. Ashley sat stiffly beside me, her laugh a touch too forced. As the evening went on, I played the perfect husband, polite, charming, even flattering Chase on his success. But every time Ashley leaned just a little too close to him, I filed it away like evidence in a trial. And by dessert, I had all I needed. When we got home, Ashley sighed in relief. See? That wasn't so bad. I smiled, brushing a stray hair from her face. Not bad at all. What I didn't tell her was that the waiter, an old college friend of mine, had been recording snippets of the evening on his phone. At my request, Ashley thought she was playing chess. She didn't realize I was playing poker, and my hand was getting stronger by the day. The thing about betrayal is, most people expect you to either blow up in anger or crumble in tears. What they never expect is patience. And patience was exactly what I had. Because when the trap finally shut, and it would, Ashley wouldn't just lose me. She'd lose everything. It's funny how easily a guilty person gives themselves away once they start feeling watched. They itch. They twitch. They talk too much about nothing at all, filling silences that wouldn't bother them if their conscience were clean. Ashley had begun to itch. I noticed it that Tuesday morning while she buttered her toast. She laughed at something on her phone, glanced at me, and then quickly flipped its screen down. Rookie mistake. Something funny? I asked, pouring coffee. Her laugh came out high-pitched. Oh, just a meme. You wouldn't get it. Try me, I said lightly. She froze. A tiny freeze, just long enough to catch. Never mind. Inside joke. I sipped my coffee, studying her without really studying her. She shifted in her chair, one leg bouncing. You okay? I asked. Fine. Why wouldn't I be? That was all I needed. That week, I started pulling threads. Quietly, of course. The first was her credit card statement. I'd always let her manage her own bills, my version of trust, or maybe laziness, but now I paid attention. 2 charges from a boutique hotel downtown, both on nights I'd been away for work. I smiled as I highlighted the transactions and slipped the statement into my folder. The second thread came through Ryan. Remember the apartment he found me? I asked him to do a little digging, the kind of digging real estate guys excel at. By Thursday, he had Chase's mortgage info, debt, and even a pending lien on his condo. Guy's house of cards is about to collapse, Ryan told me over the phone. Perfect, I said. Thanks, man. See, Ashley thought she was hitching herself to some rising star. In reality, she was betting on a guy already neck-deep in quicksand. And the third thread? That came straight from Chase himself. He didn't even know he handed it to me. Friday night, Ashley announced, I'll be working late. I smiled. Sure. Want me to save you some dinner? No need. I'll grab something with the team. The team, I repeated. Yeah. What? Nothing, I said, smiling like a man without a care in the world. She left at 6:42 p.m. I gave her a 30-minute head start, then drove to the hotel. Same boutique spot as before. I parked 2 blocks away, slipped into the lobby, and nodded at the receptionist like I belonged there. I didn't need to ask for a room number. The camera in her car had already caught the reservation printout on the dashboard the night before. Room 214. I didn't go up. Didn't need to. I just waited in the lounge with a drink, facing the elevator. At 9:05, they walked out together. Ashley's hair was a little too mussed, Chase's time missing entirely. He spotted me first. His smirk faltered. I raised my glass in a mock toast. He blinked, then looked away fast, ushering Ashley toward the door. She didn't see me, or maybe she did and pretended not to. Either way, that image burned itself into memory, him leading her out like she was a prize he'd just won. I didn't confront them. Not yet. I just let them walk into their own destruction. The next morning, Ashley was unusually affectionate. Made pancakes, kissed my cheek, asked about my plans for the day. I almost laughed. She wasn't being loving. She was being careful. By noon, I had what I needed. I uploaded the hotel security footage, courtesy of another college buddy who managed IT for the chain, to my cloud account. Her hand in his lips brushing her hair. Exhibit A. That afternoon, I called my lawyer. A quiet man named Henry who wore glasses thicker than bulletproof glass and had the patience of a monk. Henry, I said, how quickly can we start prepping for a divorce without her suspecting? Depends on how messy you want it, he replied. Oh, it's going to be clean, I said. But surgical. That night, Ashley tried again. You've been so quiet lately, she said, curling up beside me on the couch. Just thinking, I murmured. About what? I turned my head, met her eyes, and smiled. About the future. She smiled back, relieved. And that was the moment I knew she was already losing. Because while she thought I was drifting toward apathy, I was already sharpening the knife. Not a literal one, don't worry. My revenge wasn't going to draw blood. It was going to draw silence. The kind that echoes louder than screaming. 2 days later, I staged my first move. I left my phone unlocked on the kitchen counter while I showered. The screen lit up with an email preview from Henry, carefully worded, subject line, potential investment opportunities. When I came back, Ashley was at the counter, phone still in hand, face pale. She quickly set it down, pretending she hadn't been caught snooping. Everything okay? I asked, towel slung over my shoulder. Of course, she said too quickly. Why wouldn't it be? I smiled. Just checking. That night, she barely touched her dinner. The following weekend, I invited a few friends over for a cookout. Normal, casual. Ashley played the role of perfect hostess, laughing and pouring drinks, though I noticed her eyes darting toward me every time I stepped away from the group. In the middle of it, Ryan clapped me on the shoulder. You and Ashley are the dream team, huh? Ashley grinned automatically. I smiled back and said, oh, we've got some surprises coming up. The way her fork clattered against her plate told me she didn't like surprises. Later that night, after the guests left, Ashley confronted me in the kitchen. What did you mean by surprises? She demanded, arms crossed. I leaned against the counter. Why? Did it worry you? Her eyes narrowed. I just don't like secrets. The irony almost knocked me over. Neither do I said softly. She swallowed. For the first time in months, she didn't have a comeback. I walked past her, leaving her in the kitchen with her arms still crossed. Upstairs, I checked my email. The hotel security footage had finished processing. Crystal clear. Date and timestamp. Ashley thought she was still ahead. But in reality, I'd just moved my queen into checkmate position. The cruelest thing about revenge isn't the strike itself. It's the waiting. Watching the other person live out their fantasy, clueless that the walls are closing in, brick by silent brick. And Ashley? She was too busy chasing the thrill to notice she was standing on a trapdoor. It's a strange kind of thrill, knowing you hold a secret that could detonate someone's entire life. Every smile they flash, every casual touch, every smug little smirk, they don't know it's all borrowed time. And I had the clock ticking in my pocket. By now, the folder I'd built on Ashley and Chase could have doubled as a Netflix documentary outline. Hotel receipts, dashcam footage, screenshots of texts where she called me boring and him electric. All neatly arranged, time-stamped, undeniable. But I wasn't ready to play my final card. Not yet. See, revenge isn't just about winning. It's about timing. If you strike too early, you waste the element of shock. Too late, and you risk them slipping away without ever knowing the weight of your hand. I wanted her to feel it. Slowly, piece by piece. The first piece was financial. One Tuesday morning, over coffee, I said casually, "Hey, Ash, did you notice the bank account looked lighter than usual?" Her head snapped up. "What do you mean?" "Oh, Probably nothing, I said with a shrug. Just a few charges I didn't recognize. I'll ask the bank. Her eyes flickered, just for a second, but it was enough. She knew what I was hinting at. Later that night, when she thought I was asleep, I heard the faint click of her laptop keys. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just listened to the frantic tapping as she probably checked whether her little hotel getaways had slipped onto our joint statements. By the time I woke up, she was gone from the room, her side of the bed cold. I smiled into the dark. The second piece was social. Ashley loved her little bubble of reputation. The perfect wife, the gracious hostess, the woman who could juggle a career and a marriage without breaking a sweat. I decided to give that bubble a tiny poke. So, at a neighborhood barbecue, I made a point of complimenting her. Loudly. You know, Ash, you've been working so hard lately. Those late nights must be exhausting. I watched her freeze, spatula mid-flip. She forced a smile. Yeah, well, someone has to keep things moving. Across the table, one of our neighbors raised an eyebrow. Late nights, huh? What are you working on? Ashley laughed nervously. Just projects. I sipped my drink. Big projects. Hotels downtown, right, Ash? The way her hand tightened on the spatula was better than any toast. The third piece was psychological. I started leaving little breadcrumbs. A lipstick-smudged napkin on the counter when she got home from yoga. A receipt from a fancy restaurant tucked into my wallet where she'd accidentally find it. When she finally asked, "Where'd you eat lunch yesterday?" I answered casually, "Oh, just a place downtown with a friend. You'd love it." "Which friend?" she pressed. "Does it matter?" I said, smiling. Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but nothing came out. She just turned back to chopping vegetables, a little too aggressively. Every time she tried to tighten her grip on me, I loosened mine, and that scared her more than shouting ever could. But the real move came the night she came home late. Again, I was sitting in the living room, lights low, pretending to scroll through my phone. She walked in, hair disheveled, blouse wrinkled, carrying the faint scent of a man's cologne that wasn't mine. "Hey," she said, her voice a little too cheerful. "Hey," I replied. Calm. Level. She sat across from me, setting her purse down. "You're up late. Couldn't sleep. Something on your mind?" I looked at her for a long moment. "Yeah, but I'll figure it out." The silence stretched so long, I swear the refrigerator hum got louder just to fill it. She shifted in her seat, crossed and uncrossed her legs, fiddled with her bracelet. "Logan," she said softly, "is everything okay with us?" I smiled faintly. "Depends." "On what?" "On whether you want it to be." She blinked, clearly not expecting that answer. And then she did something that nearly made me laugh. She reached across the coffee table, laid her hand on mine, and whispered, "I do." I let her hold it. For just a second. Then I pulled away and stood. "Good. Then maybe we should both act like it." I walked upstairs without another word. I didn't need to look back to know her face was pale. Later that week, I made a quiet visit to Henry's office. He slid the paperwork across the desk. "You're sure?" he asked. "Positive," I said. "And you want to keep her in the dark until the last moment?" "Exactly." He adjusted his glasses. "Then I'll need everything you've gathered. Photos, messages, financial records." I handed over the manila folder. He flipped through it, his expression never changing, though I swore I saw his eyebrow twitch once when he landed on the dashcam still. "You've built a case that leaves no room for denial," he said finally. "Good," I said, because denial is her favorite game. That night, Ashley cooked my favorite meal. Steak, medium rare, garlic mashed potatoes. Even baked the cornbread she usually complained was too much effort. Halfway through, she leaned across the table. "I feel like we haven't been connecting lately." "Do you?" I asked mildly. She bit her lip. "Yeah, I want us to get back to where we used to be." I set my fork down, met her eyes, and smiled. "Then stop lying to me." Her fork clattered against the plate. "What's that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer, just picked my fork back up and took another bite of steak. Her eyes darted, desperate for a fight. But I gave her nothing. And that nothing? It was louder than any accusation I could have thrown. By the end of the week, she was unraveling. I caught her staring at me while pretending to fold laundry, her eyes searching my face like she was trying to read a language she'd never learned. Finally, she broke. "Logan, are you mad at me?" "No," I said honestly. "Then what's wrong?" "Nothing," I said with a smile. "Absolutely nothing." And for the first time in months, she looked scared. Because she knew, deep down, that when I finally opened my mouth, her world would end. Ashley started hovering, checking my phone when she thought I wasn't looking, asking too many questions about where I'd been, who I'd seen. The irony was so thick, I could have spread it on toast. One night, she sat on the edge of the bed, twisting her wedding ring around her finger. "Logan," she whispered, "you'd tell me if something was wrong, right?" I smiled faintly. Of course. She wanted reassurance. What she got was ambiguity. It gnawed at her. The next morning, she tried a different tactic. "Why don't we go away this weekend? Just us. Somewhere quiet." "Sure," I said, sipping my coffee. "You book it." Her eyes widened. She wasn't expecting me to agree. Because what she wanted wasn't a trip, it was control. And I'd just given her enough rope to hang herself. By Friday, she announced we'd be staying at a mountain lodge. Cozy, romantic, the kind of place you book to patch a marriage. Except I already knew Chase had a reservation there. Same weekend, same lodge, different cabin. How did I know? Let's just say Chase wasn't as careful with his emails as he thought. The lodge was beautiful. A log-in-stone masterpiece tucked in the hills, fireplaces crackling, snow dusting the trees outside. Ashley clung to my arm like we were newlyweds. "This'll be good for us," she said. "Absolutely," I replied. After dinner, she suggested a walk. I agreed, pulling on my coat. We strolled down a trail lined with lanterns, our breath steaming in the night air. Halfway through, she slipped her hand into mine. "I want to start over, Logan. I really do." I stopped walking. "Then why didn't you?" Her head snapped up. "What do you mean?" I didn't answer, just looked past her shoulder, toward the cabin where I knew Chase was waiting. Right on cue, the porch light flicked on. A shadow moved behind the curtain. Ashley followed my gaze. Her grip on my hand tightened. "Logan, shoo," I said softly. "Don't ruin the surprise." The color drained from her face. Back in our cabin, I set a folder on the table. The folder. Ashley stared at it like it might explode. "What's that?" "Read it," I said calmly. She hesitated, then opened it. The first photo slid out, her and Chase, caught by the dash cam, her hand on his leg. Her breath caught. Page after page, she flipped. Texts, receipts, hotel security stills. Her face crumpled with every turn. Finally, she looked up, tears shining. "Logan, I can explain." "No need," I interrupted gently. "You already did." She opened her mouth again, but I cut her off with a smile. "Relax, Ashley. I'm not here to scream or beg. I just wanted you to know." "Know what?" she whispered. "That I've been one step ahead this whole time." The silence stretched so long, I could hear the crackle of the fire behind us. "Then why are you here with me?" she finally asked. "Because, Ashley," I said softly, "sometimes the best revenge isn't leaving. It's letting someone watch you walk away without lifting a finger to stop you." The next morning, I was gone. Not a suitcase left. Not a note. Not even the toothbrush in the bathroom. The cabin looked like I'd never been there. Ashley woke alone. She searched every room, then ran outside, barefoot in the snow, calling my name. Nothing. On the nightstand, I'd left only one thing: the signed divorce papers. She called, texted, left frantic voicemails. I didn't answer. 2 days later, the world caught up to her. See, I hadn't just collected evidence. I delivered it. To Chase's wife. To his employer. To the bank holding his mortgage. Chase's career? Over. His condo? Foreclosed. And Ashley? She was left standing in the rubble of the life she tried to build on my ashes. The cruelest part? I never raised my voice. Never laid a hand on her. When friends asked where I was, I made sure they knew. "I'm doing great. Just moved on." And Ashley? She was the one explaining. To everyone. Alone. Because in the end, the revenge wasn't the folder. It wasn't exposing her. It was the silence. The silence of a man she thought she could break, walking away with his dignity intact, while she drowned in the noise of her own lies. And that's how I ended it. Not with fire. Not with fury. But with the quiet kind of cruelty that leaves echoes long after you're gone. Because if Ashley wanted a performance, I gave her the final act. Curtain closed.